The most tragic irony of it all with narcissistic abuse is that no matter how hard you tried, how much you loved, or how tightly you grasped on to the hope that things would get better or they would change, the only change they ever make is changing the very person that you once were, devastatingly impacting every aspect of your life, often before you even realize what's going on, with the effects lasting long after the relationship ends, to which some of them, most don't even contribute to stemming from the abuse or don't have a full understanding as to why they're related. So I wanted to go over a few common behavioral changes that take place amongst victims of narcissistic abuse that often get overlooked, not discussed altogether, despite their drastically changing the ways in which you function day by day. Develop a distorted sense or altered meaning of time due to the prolonged and continuous abuse, creating this feeling of hopelessness, like there's no way in hell you'll ever escape this fairy tale from the crypt. Changing your perception of time to be something that's more stagnant rather than something that's forever moving forward, due to this sense of there being no end in sight. Where you once may have been very organized and on top of things, to now, if running late were a form of cardio exercise, you'd be the most fit person on the planet, as it seems to be your specialty in everything, all the time. Not because you don't care or because you enjoy the rush of adrenaline that one often gets from running late, but rather due to procrastination in getting ready or prepared, as well as many developing a habit of taking on way more they can chew. As a result, stemming from this skewed time management, creating a clusterfuck of a snowball rolling you down the hill that you intended to be climbing on your rise back up, bringing about more stress as you scurry to get your ass out the door, causing issues with your employment, irritating your coworkers, family, and friends due to your continuous pattern of being late, which then leads to more self-criticism and self-doubt, constantly worried these individuals now view you as one that they no longer can depend on, causing you to further withdraw and isolate in efforts to avoid the criticism and judgment. Prevent yourself from reaching your full potential or achieving success. Consciously or subconsciously now seeing success as a danger due to the potential of it attaching with it the risk of being mocked, judged, or criticized by others, and or your achievements acting as a trigger to induce anxiety, panic, and leave you feeling on edge as a way to warn you that it is not safe to feel happy, confident in yourself or your abilities, or to achieve success, as you have been groomed and accustomed to always waiting for the shoe to drop, just as it did in those moments of happiness or success with the narcissist. The perfect storm for disaster syndrome. Many develop perfectionism due to their always trying harder and feeling like they're not enough, from the narcissist constantly moving the goalposts, insulting, devaluing, and stripping you of your sense of worth, to intentionally make you feel exactly that, like you're not enough, which in and of itself can create all sorts of issues in your life, because there's no way to be perfect, to please everybody, or to even please one person all the time. And add to it the dysfunction that takes place in your short-term memory from the abuse, as well as the cherry topping of can't say no syndrome. This little disaster cake becomes the perfect storm for driving yourself crazy, because, well, let's face it, it's pretty hard to feel like you're putting your best fit forward. Half the time, it feels like you have shit for brains, not remembering to do simple tasks, returning a phone call, or what you went upstairs for the 15th time, but can't exactly stand around and rack your brain over what it was you were looking for at the moment, because you've promised Sally that you take her shift at work and still have to get Bob to his car that's in the body shop, feed the dog, empty the litter box, switch over the laundry, and help your youngest child with their science project that you promised them you would do yesterday, but naturally procrastinated and then totally forgot. Develop unrelated or bizarre phobias for no apparent reason to things that you weren't even necessarily afraid of before the abuse, largely due to the constant state of fight or flight from the extreme levels of stress that the abuse keeps us in. As such, we develop these bizarre phobias from environmental stimuli getting twisted in to our already heightened fear response to serve as a cue to alert our brains that the threat of danger is near. Fortunately, due to this dysfunction of being stuck in fight or flight, a heightened emotional response to fear, as well as the physiological changes that take place in our amygdala and hippocampus created from the trauma. Our fear gets directed toward an object or situation that doesn't even present a real danger. And even though you eventually become to recognize that this fear is unreasonable, you cannot help the reaction that you have to it. Over time, as a way to avoid ourselves from tipping completely over the edge, maxed out in the department of anxiety, we literally develop a fear of a fear, which more or less contributes to most of the reason we end up staying in the relationship for as long as we do, as a way to avoid facing the fear of the unknown. Ultimately, at times, freezing you in the moment, literally staring into the great abyss as a way to numb yourself to avoid having to face the pain and the reality of it all, which sure makes for one son of a bitch to try to move a mountain when you're paralyzed in fear, and why developing self-awareness and becoming consciously aware of these behaviors is so important. Because in order to prevent ourselves from carrying around these dead horses, essentially gaslighting ourselves into seriously doubting whether or not limited beliefs that they've been implanting into your psyche are in fact real. And the only way to bury these dead horses in the ground is to remember who you are. Nothing good is going to come from holding on to the hope that they're going to get better. Nada. Zero, zilch, none. These people are nothing but hell in a pair of shoes and will run you straight into the ground with their darkness. Anytime your intuition is trying to warn you that you are possibly dealing with the devil, you are not going to want to walk away. You're going to want to go ahead and fucking run, because hell only gets a whole lot harder to escape from within each passing moment. So giddy up, run. Leave them, your love, and any hope for them to get better behind, because you cannot take them with you if you want to survive. You deserve and are worth so much more. Focus on you. Fuck the narcissist.